ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
This is Cop Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mehmet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cop Talk. My name is Kevin Schroeder. I'm here with my co-host, Ed Mehmet.
Hello, everybody. WABC Cop Talk listeners. We're on today with a very, very special guest who is very well known, and we're glad to have him.
So today's guest is Roger Stone. Roger is one of the most legendary figures in American politics. He's worked for just about every major Republican since Nixon and Reagan. He hosts his own radio show here on WABC Radio, Sundays from 4 to 6 p.m. He's a local boy, grew up in Westchester County. He's one of the first, if not the first, major political figures to recognize a young Donald Trump's leadership potential and helped him to the presidency. We also have calling in Sal Greco, who's a 14-year NYPD veteran and who was fired by the NYPD for his association with Roger Stone. Roger, welcome.
I'm delighted to be with you guys.
So, and Sal, you're there too?
I'm here, Kevin. It's an honor to be here.
Great. So how do you guys know each other? Roger, how did you and Sal become friendly?
Well, it's a most unlikely story. As you know, because of my 45-year friendship with Donald Trump, and because Special Counsel Robert Mueller and his thugs could find no evidence whatsoever of Russian collusion, they decided to try to frame me and pressure me to provide false testimony against my friend of 45 years. They ran a media campaign in which it was alleged falsely that I was somehow colluding with Russian intelligence or had been the go-between between WikiLeaks, which they allege, again falsely, had hacked the DNC or had received the fruits of a online hack of the Democratic National Committee by Russian intelligence. There's no evidence, by the way, to prove any of that. It's just a claim of our intelligence services to fit their political narrative. But during the time that I was under indictment, prior to being gagged by the judge in my case so that I couldn't defend myself in public, while MSNBC, CNN, and the New York Times and the Washington Post, destroyed me with these false allegations. I was posting on Instagram. I was getting beat up pretty badly on social media, and I noticed that this guy in New York, Sal Greco, had been defending me in a number of posts, which I appreciated because, when you're in this kind of situation, you learn who your real friends are and you learn who your real friends are not.
Right.
So I thanked him through a direct message, learned that he was from Staten Island, that he was a police officer, that he was in New York. And since in those days I had a place in New York, I suggested that perhaps we could get together for dinner with he and I and my wife when we were in New York. So I could thank him directly for his online support. We met. We became very, very good friends. He visited my family in Florida for Easter and for Christmas. And he's almost like a member of the family. He's a great friend of my entire family, my adult daughter, and so on. My son is also a police officer. So we became very good friends. Unfortunately, he would pay a very high price for that friendship. I know that's not what we want to dwell on today, but Sal Greco is a 14-year veteran of the New York Police Department with an unblemished record of service to the people of New York, and often assigned to some of the most dangerous precincts in the city for the graveyard shift. He has an impeccable record. but he was terminated by the NYPD, really essentially simply because he's a friend of mine, using a regulation that prohibits police officers from fraternizing with those who may have or may in the future be engaged in criminal activity. This is a regulation that is enforced extraordinarily selectively. It was not, for example, used on Captain Eric Adams when he fraternized with the convicted felon Mike Tyson, provided private security for the convicted felon Louis Farrakhan, certainly not applied to the brass of the NYPD when the vile anti-police rapper Cardi B recently spoke at the New York City Police Academy. These things are almost impossible to believe. But they sought to ruin Sal Greco's life. They terminated him. That takes away his pension, takes away a good conduct letter, so he can't get a job as a law enforcement officer in any other jurisdiction. He spent his life savings fighting this in court. I think he's going to get his day in court. I actually think he's going to win in court, and it will be proven that the city unjustly terminated. But we became very good friends and remain good friends to this day.
Roger, that brings me to my next question. What are your thoughts on what happened to Sal?
Well, it's completely political. In other words, if you're Eric Adams, you can flout the law. He was brought up on the same under the same regulations. He went through a departmental trial, and they docked him 5 days vacation time. We have the entire top brass of the New York City Police Department in violation of that regulation because they're hanging out at a restaurant in the Bronx owned by a known criminal, a place called Con Sofrito. It is completely selective. It's a double standard. Sal Greco was fired because he supports Donald Trump in his free time, in his spare time, and because he's a friend of mine. It is outrageous. It's selective prosecution at a minimum. And I got a full and unconditional presidential pardon, but that doesn't seem to matter to the NYPD. The entire investigation into Sal Greco is corrupted. They obtained his cell phone records and his internet records by falsely claiming he was under investigation in a narcotics investigation. That's a vile lie. He was never even dole tested. There's no allegation of drug use or drug involvement on his part at all. They just bend the rules at NYPD, and I think finally a federal judge is going to hold them responsible.
Right. Captain?
You know, you made a point before about Eric Adams and his sordid history. I've done some research on that. Not only is there a regulation in the police department about associating with people who might be involved with criminal activity, but there's also one about associating with people who spew hate. And nobody spewed more hate than Louis Farrakhan. And yet Adams, who associated with Farrakhan, was never brought up on charges like that. So there is a lot of hypocrisy here, and I certainly feel very strongly about what happened to Sal because, like you say, it was selective prosecution. And hopefully that his case will clear him, and he'll get the justice he deserves.
Amen.
Now, Roger, you're no stranger to political persecution yourself. The FBI conducted a massive raid on your home, and as I recall, they even had a boat in the canal near your home.
Yeah, I was arrested on January 25th of 2019 when 29 fully SWAT-clad FBI agents brandishing fully automatic M4 assault weapons surrounded my home to arrest me for the first time nonviolent crime of allegedly lying to Congress. It's funny because the special counsel's office had spoken to my lawyers just the day before. We turned over 30 pages of text messages, which essentially proved my innocence, proved that anything I knew about WikiLeaks, I knew from a perfectly legal source. They ignored all of that evidence. They ignored exculpatory testimony in front of the grand jury because they had already made up their mind that I would be charged for this convoluted process crime dreamed up by the most corrupt prosecutor in American history, a fellow named Andrew Weissman. They could have simply said, we're arresting you, we're charging you turn yourself in, that would have saved $1.1 million for the taxpayers, because the government was suspended at that time because of the budget failure, and therefore all of the agents involved were getting paid time and a half for overtime. Yes, there were 2 amphibious units pulled up to the dock at the back of my house. There were armed frogmen jumped out on the dock as if I was going to swim away. Look, none of this makes any sense. And of course, as you know, I was arrested at 6:06. At 6:11, a producer from CNN sent a copy of my sealed indictment to one of my lawyers by text. It had no court markings on it, no timestamp. But if you looked at the metadata tags of the person who created the document, you see the initials of Andrew Weissman. So there is the proof right there that CNN leaked the details of my arrest to CNN, who just totally conveniently and by total coincidence happened to have a full camera crew 25 feet from my front door when the FBI threatened to break it down. They actually carried a battering ram up to the front door as if I was not going to open it when they pounded on it at 6 o'clock in the morning. The whole over-the-top created for TV drama was to pressure me into testifying falsely against President Trump, which I refused to do. But I also think sending a chilling message to anyone else who decided to stand up and tell the truth and not go along with this false Russia narrative.
Hey, guys, I just want to say one thing about this was when this actually happened with the FBI, unbeknownst to Roger, they actually also hit the apartment that he had at the time in New York City and his studio in Florida. And one of the most unprofessional things I've ever seen was when Roger retrieved the items that they originally they seized from him. They brought back his computer screen was cracked. There was missing items to this day. They took his posters that were, these are legendary political posters from campaigns that he worked on. They slashed them from the back. This was all unnecessary stuff. I don't know what kind of convoluted reason they had, but as you know, you guys worked in the New York City Police Department with me. We could never do that without being sued. So I just want to throw it out there. People don't know that they actually ruined and destroyed Roger's property and have never been held accountable for that to this day.
Yeah, they raided my home, but they also raided my studio in Florida. They literally trashed the place. They were there for 13 hours seeking for evidence that, of course, did not exist because there was no evidence of Russian collusion or WikiLeaks collaboration to be found. They left the place in shambles. My wife and I are still, to this day, it was 3 years ago, we're still sorting through our belongings, trying to find things. It's very hard to even know what was removed, what was returned. When they returned my camera, my computer to me, which took about a year, it had been somebody taking a sledgehammer to it. It was completely non-functional. It was destroyed. They cut the cords on my microphones. They cut the cords on some of my high-quality cameras. It was outrageous. Yes, Sal is right. I have no legal recourse. The federal government can basically do whatever it wants.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes.
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
You know, Sal and Roger, I'd like to point out that Roger's been fully exonerated. President Trump granted Roger a full pardon in 2020. Just like to point that out.
Roger, speaking of crime and justice, let's take a bigger look at the what's happening in America today as a whole. You've been on the front lines of American politics for over 50 years. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
I really haven't. It's amazing that the government accuses Donald Trump of wanting to do exactly what they are doing today, which is using the judiciary to punish and victimize their political opponents, weaponizing law enforcement to harass American citizens because, they might prefer the Latin Mass, or because they're pro-life, or because they object to the curriculum being taught to their children in the public schools. They're termed as domestic terrorists. I don't need to tell you guys, police departments across the country are hemorrhaging officers as they leave because there's no support for the police. My own son is an officer in a South Florida jurisdiction. Essentially, his superiors tell him to arrest no one lest they be sued. So we've come to a point in America where the rights of the victims are far more important. The rights of the criminals are more important than the rights of the victims. And woe be it to a police officer who stands up and tries to enforce the law or protect the public. They'll find themselves prosecuted. This story, which I just read about a man stopping and mugging in the New York subways by pulling out a gun and shooting shots into the air, and he is arrested. He prevented the mugging of this woman, but he is the one arrested. Everything here is backwards. The country is hurtling towards lawlessness. It's Black Lives Matter. Antifa can burn down half the country, injure people, create millions and millions of dollars of destruction, yet no one is prosecuted. No one. Yet we're told that the events at the Capitol on January 6th were an insurrection. Why was nobody who entered the Capitol other than Capitol Hill police armed? No one was armed. That's not a very good insurrection. I mean, I was not there. Sal Greco was not there. Frankly, I know nothing about it, although you wouldn't know it if you watched MSNBC. Everything here is backwards. It seems to me that we're seeking to prosecute police officers or private citizens who stand up for their rights. Meanwhile, the country, I don't need to tell you this, is being flooded with illegal immigrants. You have 139,500 illegal migrants who have come to New York City since 2022. You have 65,000 of them currently in taxpayer-funded shelters. You have just 2,800 arrived just last week. The city has spent over $2 billion in social services for the illegals. And in one facility on Midland Avenue, they were putting out veterans to make room for illegals. This makes no sense to me, but this is the America of Joe Biden. This is the America of Eric Adams. Of those migrants who have come here, less than 2% have sought job permits so they can find work. So they intend to be here on the government dole permanently, based on what I can see.
That's been a big problem. I always say that if they want to send them back, we should put them into the Army. You'll see how fast they'll run back to where they came from.
Exactly. That's one way.
Anyway, some time ago, President Trump announced a plan to end crime and restore law and order. It included a record investment in hiring, retention, and training for police, increase in liability protection for cops, and a whole range of other things. What's your opinion of that?
I'm strongly in favor of it. It badly needs to be done. He also wants to eliminate income taxes for law enforcement officers who are, let's face it, undercompensated anyway. No, look, Donald Trump, I think, has been very outspoken in his support for law enforcement. I think he has the love of the rank and file members of law enforcement. And I frankly think that if he is not elected president in the 2024 election, it probably will be the last election this country ever has. We are on the verge of collapsing into chaos, whether it is the trans movement, which infiltrates our schools, whether it is the allowing of Black Lives Matter and Antifa to run wild, whether it is the violence of the pro-Palestinian forces across the country protesting the activities in the Middle East. We see a complete breakdown of law and order. I strongly support the president's proposal. I think it is well thought out, and I think it will be one of the cornerstones of restoring America if he is fortunate enough to win the 2024 election.
One of the things he's talked about is a super police force to patrol American cities. I'm kind of skeptical about that because we do have a federal system with states and states' rights, and each state has their own police. I think what he's talking about is possibly a national police force. So what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I'm skeptical about it also. I think the community policing is the most effective policing. Community policing close to the community, run by the states, run by the cities, run by the localities. I think the potential for abuses in a national police force are really, really substantial, and therefore I would be extraordinarily skeptical.
The analogy to the FBI. The FBI is a national federal police force in a sense.
Supposedly, but I don't know where they were when these crowds were trying to break into Madison Square Garden. Break into a Grand Central Station the other day. Where were the police? Where was the FBI? I mean, they're missing in action from what I can see.
I believe the NYPD upper management was at Samos at that, and the FBI might have been sitting outside Gracie Mansion watching Eric Adams.
Yeah. Well, Sal, if you recall, in New York City, I believe you still need a permit to protest, demonstrate, and it's also a designated time and area, correct?
That is correct. You still need a permit, allegedly.
Right. All of a sudden now you could go anywhere you want at any time and place, and the cops just will follow them as if it's a parade.
And you also need sound permits to use sound devices. That's another thing.
Or as the other day, as you saw, what was it, when they took over the Brooklyn Bridge, and that was a complete breakdown in public safety by, once again, Mayor Eric Adams and Police Commissioner Ed Caban. It completely dropped the ball there. They were marching over a bridge. I know you could go back in time when Ray Kelly was a police commissioner, Bernie Carrick, this kind of stuff, it would stop immediately. That was absolutely egregious that happened.
Absolutely. And where's the mounted unit? They're a few blocks away being told to stand down. So.
Faraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Faraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Faraday, adelante.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country. Anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The Four Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The Four Seasons, streaming now only on Netflix.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
First of all, I'd like to thank Roger and Sal for being a guest on today's episode of Cop Talk. But, Roger and Sal, how can everyone get in touch with you if they like to reach out?
Well, you can follow my exploits by going to stonezone.com, stonezone.com. There you can see my daily show, The Stone Zone. You can also get a portal to my WABC radio show. I'm on The Roger Stone Show on WABC Radio every Sunday between 4 and 6 Eastern Time. You can listen on WABCradio.com. Or, of course, if you're in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, you can just dial in 770 on the AM dial. If you want to help me and my family, because we still have 11 harassment lawsuits that have been filed against us, you can go to StoneFamilyFund.com, StoneFamilyFund.com. I pay a fortune in monthly legal fees fighting these totally fictitious, fabricated lawsuits filed by liberals, lunatics, crazy people, crackpots, leftists. Oh, wait, I'm being redundant.
Yeah, and for me, you could go to salgreco.com. There's you could help me there. You could help support me by you could click the donation button, or you could go have some merchandise. Maybe you want to buy a few shirts. Also, anything I'm going to be doing in the future would also come on the website. You could follow me at on Twitter at the Sal Greco. Same can be said for Instagram, and on Truth Social, I'm at Head of the Table.
Fantastic, Captain. You have another question?
One question for Roger. You've been with the president on the campaign trail. I think you were in Iowa recently when he launched his Farmers for Trump coalition. Most cops I speak to adore him, and they can't wait to see him back in office. Is there any law enforcement for Trump coalition in the works? And if so, how do cops get active, retired, get involved in such a campaign?
I believe there is one in the planning stages. I actually have meetings on coalitions tomorrow, so I will have more information for you. Be happy to come back when I know more. But you're right, rank and file law enforcement officers love Donald Trump, and with good reasons, because he loves them.
What will he do for Sal?
Get him his job back with retro pay.
We pray for that. We pray for that. That's up to a federal judge, but I frankly think he has an excellent chance to win in court. Lawyers are very expensive. Folks should go to salgreco.com and make a contribution so that Sal has the resources necessary to continue to pay his lawyers and fight this fight.
I like it. Gentlemen, once again, Roger and Sal, I'd like to thank you for being on another episode of Cop Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you hear, please subscribe. You could also follow us on Twitter at Cop Talk WABC. That's at Cop Talk WABC. Until next time, God bless America, God bless the NYPD, and be safe out there. Thank you.